Thank you guys so much for watching this podcast. We do have one quick thing to let you guys know is that we will be taking a break from posting the full videos of the podcast. But be sure to subscribe because we will still be posting different clips from it. And when we do get back to video podcasts, you will be the first to know.
We'll still be releasing the entire podcast on YouTube, as well as Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all the other audio platforms where you can get your podcasts. It just won't have the entirety of all of the video and all of the editing that it's had in the past, as we're trying to free up the time that Eddie and Shay spend doing that each and every week. So continue to subscribe, stay tuned, and we'll keep a lot of fun coming your way. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, let's get started. How's your back, by the way, after that TikTok?
It's okay. It did hurt though.
Maggie did a TikTok. Did you see it, guys, where she was like bending backwards underneath the line, getting progressively lower, like doing the limbo, and the line kept getting lower? Yeah. I couldn't believe how low you got. And then, of course, you collapsed and fell backward on the concrete. Was that your plan, or did you have a plan?
No, that was like my maybe like 5th or 6th time doing it. Because it was really difficult to jump up afterwards because your legs are just like whatever. And so I had a few takes where like I would have jumped up and like just like an inch of my shoe was in it. And I was like, you're kidding. And I did have one that worked out, but I was like, I can do it better. You know how we get into that mindset where we're like, we must be perfect.
Yes, I do know that mindset.
Yeah, a little bit of that was going on. And so I was like, I'll do it again. And my body just collapsed. And then I was like,
well, that's the version that you posted.
Yeah, I figured people can watch people doing it successfully. But dude, it's not even my back anymore, but my legs. I think I like actually like pulled the muscles. They hurt so bad.
I'm so sorry. All right, what are you doing for that? You resting or taking hot baths or showers or icing or?
Yeah, I don't have a bath.
That's right. You have a pool.
No, I'm just kind of chilling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Figured it'll pass eventually.
All right. Self-massage, lots of water. Maybe get a massage from a good massage therapist.
Here's the thing,
that would be helpful. You
do that when you've like worked out muscles, but if you've pulled them, should you still massage them or like let them heal?
It's kind of a mix of both. We could talk about that a little bit more because I think that could be beneficial. But for example, in my life, I've had a lot of injuries, both from like stretching something, overdoing something, or also like just being tired and sore from working out. But in either case, you might have knots and you need more blood flow. And so the blood can only flow through a muscle that's looser. If it's knotted, the blood can't get in there and it can't like fix something. So if you feel a knot and you feel like the good kind of pain when you massage it, then it's probably okay. It's probably helping to like speed up the blood flow. That's it.
Interesting.
Yeah. There you go. That's at least my personal experience with pain, which has been extensive, I will tell you. So, You ready to get started?
Let's do it.
Roll that intro music.
Mags and Dads, wholesome chaos. Mags and Dads, wholesome chaos.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Wholesome Chaos, the podcast where we talk about our real life in real time in order to help each other, also to help you in your life and have a lot of fun along the way. And I am ready to have fun with you, Maggie. And we had so much fun with you last week. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Maggie Thurman, my daughter on the other end. How you doing, girl?
I'm good. That was a really nice intro.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, last week was fun. I was actually listening to last week's podcast this morning because I hadn't had a chance to do that yet. And it's just so fun when we're all together. And that was just such a fun trip in general. But by the time we'd filmed that podcast, that actually wasn't the end of our trip.
No.
Wasn't it? Was it that day that we drove to SanDiego?
Pretty much. We did the podcast in the morning, and then you had an audition that afternoon.
Callback. Yeah.
A callback, and that's really why we had to wait to drive in later.
Yeah.
So I should also mention that Eddie and Mom are here in the studio with us.
Hello.
You guys want to say hello?
Yes. Hi.
Welcome,
Hey.
welcome. We're counting
Did I
it down,
introduce
Maggie.
you?
Oh, no, you
did
didn't
I
introduce me. Go
Oh,
ahead. I'm ready.
Guys,
I'm ready for my intro.
that voice that you're hearing right now
Hello.
is
This voice
is
right here.
the one and only
Come on.
Dan Thurman.
Steve Carell.
With the,
No, wait, no.
with the last name spelled M-O-N. I'm sure there's
M-O-N.
probably some Dan Thurmans, but this is Dan Thurman, and he
DanThurman.com. Yes. But if you misspell my name and then use .com, chances are you're going to still get there, because Mom is so smart. She got the Thurman.com, M-A-N, Thurmond, M-O-N-D, and maybe a few
Good.
others I don't even know about. Yeah.
Thermopolis.
So you should be able to find me. No, and I don't look like Steve Carell, but a lot of people think I do. Maybe I do.
You do a little bit.
I know. I used to get told I look like Tom Cruise or Tony Danza. Now it's Steve Carell.
What is Tom Cruise up to these days?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a while. I think
Yeah,
he's
no,
making a
me
movie
neither.
or something.
Probably.
That's
Yeah,
so
like-
Tom.
I'll shoot him a
That's
text
so
and see
Tom.
what's going on.
Yeah, it's so
That's
Tom.
so Tom.
I call him TC. And he calls me DT.
Yeah, right.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
It is sweet. But no, we drove down to San Diego, and you drove your Prius, your car. We all got some coffee for the ride to keep us awake and alert. I was snoozing, man. I was riding
about to
shotgun.
Only
Yeah.
you and I got coffee, and you slept for a lot of that drive.
I failed miserably in my job as shotgun responsibility to keep the driver alert and awake. I was out.
Okay.
I don't know why. Maybe the time zones, or just, the full totality of the wonderfulness of our trip and our time with you. Something
Yeah.
like that. But San
Cars-
Diego is a great city, and we have a lot of fun memories there from NSA experiences. Eddie and I have taken a bunch of trips there for my speeches. It's
Yeah.
one of the most beautiful cities in America, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say cars in general also just like kind of feel natural to sleep in a little bit. Yesterday, some friends and I, we went to the beach for a little bit. We went to Malibu, and like we watched sunset there, and then we went to drive back. And the two friends I was with, they were driving and shotgun, and I was in the back. And I just kind of, it was dark outside. I've been trying to be off my phone more. And so I was like, it just feels natural to lay down right now. And so I just laid down and I opened my eyes, and it's dark outside. I'm looking forward, and I just see it was a guy friend and a girlfriend. And I was like, this 100% feels like my mom and dad are driving me home right now. And like maybe if I pretend to be asleep when we get there, one of them will carry me in.
Did it work?
It just no, we
Did
were
you get
talking
carried
about
in?
that though. I did not, but getting out of that car was disorienting because I was like, I haven't slept in a car in a long time, and I didn't really fall asleep. But just like the act of sleeping, even if you're not asleep. But no, we actually talked about that. Where we were like, did your parents ever carry you in? And we were like, oh yeah. And then they were
Yeah.
talking about, oh yeah, like I would fake sleeping just to get.
You
just to
definitely
get carried
did.
in.
You faked sleeping pretty late into your childhood development. And
I
I
don't
knew it,
remember
but
that
I didn't
much.
mind carrying you in.
Oh no,
Yeah.
Maggie fell asleep everywhere. I have pictures of her around the world asleep in our laps, on trains, in buses, at weddings. She's just out. She could fall asleep anywhere.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because that's so different now.
It's a good skill to have.
Yeah, I'm not like that now though.
I was thinking about when you said that about sleeping in a friend's car or me sleeping while you were driving. It's really an act of trust, saying like, I totally
Yeah.
entrust you as we're going, 75 miles an hour in crowded California traffic. I'm so much that I'm going to actually be unconscious right now. But then
Yeah.
I guess riding in a car in general is an act of trust, because there's not much you can do if you're not the one driving,
I trust no one.
Yeah, mom doesn't trust anybody. That's what she
That-
wants to drive.
That is true. But no, that's
Yep.
that's yeah. Absolutely. But this started because we're talking about San Diego.
Right. Yeah. What was your highlight?
Man.
You
that's-
weren't there
that's a-
long. You basically stayed there. Well, I guess you were there 2 nights
I
because
was
we got
there
there
as
the day
long as
before.
you were. I dropped y'all at the airport.
That's true.
Yeah. She was there the whole time.
You was sleeping in the car when you dropped us at the airport.
Yeah, she slept
Scratch
through
that.
the whole trip.
Reverse it. Yeah, exactly. You were there the whole time. I guess in my plan, you would probably be leaving the next day before my speech, but you didn't. You ended up spending the whole time with us. We had a free day before our speech. We grabbed an awesome lunch, brunch,
Yeah.
sort of. We walked to brunch, and then, then we had an amazing sailboat experience. But before we go into that, you know, Maggie, you were talking about when you were a kid and you were growing up, and one of the challenges of growing up as your body's changing and all of this is acne. And acne is something that can follow you, not just through your high school years and all of that, but into adulthood. I know I've dealt with acne in weird moments where I'm like getting ready for a board meeting, you know, where you want to be presenting yourself looking really sharp, or going on stage in front of an audience and you know you're going to be on camera, on screen. And I imagine as an actress, you've had to deal with that as well a time or two.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Apostrophe is a prescription skincare company that offers science-backed oral and topical medications that are clinically proven to help clear acne.
Apostrophe connects you with a board of certified dermatologists who will create a personalized treatment plan that is perfectly tailored to your skin.
Simply fill out Apostrophe's online quiz about your skin goals and medical history, then snap a few selfies and your dermatologist will create your customized treatment plan.
Apostrophe treats all types of acne, from hormonal acne to facial acne and even chest knee, back knee, and butt knee. They treat breakouts from head to toe.
Butt knee, so that's what you call it. How about that? Learn something new every day.
For me personally, I know one of my big goals was for my skin to not break out every single time I wore makeup. And so it was really important to me to get a routine that worked for me. And this was a great option.
Absolutely. And we have a special deal for our audience where you can save $15 on your first visit with an Apostrophe provider at apostrophe.com/chaos when you use our code CHAOS. This code is available to our listeners. That means you.
To get started, just go to apostrophe.com/chaos and click begin visit. Then use our code CHAOS at the sign up and you'll get your first visit for only $5.
That's apostrophe.com/chaos and use that code CHAOS to get your dermatologist crafted treatment plan for only $5. And we thank Apostrophe so much for sponsoring this podcast. If you didn't catch that link, go to wholesomechaos.com and you can see it there, or look at the show notes for this podcast episode. And speaking of which, while you're looking at the show notes, why not give us a follow, subscribe, rate this podcast? That way you'll be always apprised of the most recent episode as soon as it drops, and you can share it with the ones you care about and with your friends too. So, SanDiego.
SanDiego. You mentioned we were on a boat. And that was a really cool experience. Something that I still don't know. I asked Eddie this a few times. Were the seals real?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the seals were real. The submarines were real. The helicopters zooming over our heads were real.
No.
All the other boats were real. It really happened, Maggie.
The Navy SEALs are real also.
You weren't dreaming. You didn't fall asleep on the boat and imagine all that. This was legit.
But they did not look real because they were all on like the what do you call the like flotation thingy?
The buoy.
The buoys?
Yeah. There was like 3 of them on there and they weren't moving. And I was like, and Eddie was like, oh, that's so crazy that there's seals right there. And I was like, ha, yeah, there's seals right there. Because you know how sometimes like, especially like Florida beaches will put fake seals on it?
Yes. No, these were real. And they were just out there sunning themselves, enjoying the day. Although it was kind of a chilly day. We had to have on some extra layers when you're out on the water, and it was, the marine layer was kind of preventing the sun from doing its full thing that day. Anyway, it was awesome. And we have a great friend, my buddy Dan Burris, who's in my mastermind group, who is part owner of that particular boat, which was beautiful. This lovely 40-foot catamaran sailboat. And I had never seen it before. So that was my first time enjoying that experience. And I'm just really grateful that he did that for us and we got to share it together as a family.
Yeah, very special.
Yeah, that was wild.
You take pictures with everybody driving the boat. I think Eddie had the most time driving the boat. Did you enjoy that, son?
Oh, yeah, it was awesome. It was terrifying, but great.
Why was it terrifying?
I've never driven a boat before, That's probably why.
At sea base when
It
you
was
were
going
a
fast.
scout,
Maybe.
but it was smaller and
It was
probably
going so
slower.
fast.
Yeah, and
Really?
when because I was the first one to drive it, and Dan was just kind of like, "Hey Eddie, come here," and so I walked over, and he just kind of like stepped away and was like, "Here."
And he said, steer toward those secret submarines in the naval base.
Yeah.
And just and then our other friend Bill was like, yeah, he's trying to get you arrested, Eddie. Don't listen to him.
I know. It was just scary because it handles differently. I mean, it's not, I don't know. It's
Mom really
whole
loved
other
it
thing.
though.
I really enjoyed it, and I was really surprised. I figured the play in the wheel would be really little, like I'd have to move it a lot to move a boat that size, but every little movement, it was responding, and so to me, it was way cool that it was so responsive, and yeah, it was fun. It's beautiful, beautiful boat. Do you call it a boat? Feels like we should call it something else, like a yacht, because it was so big and beautiful.
It was beautiful. And again, just more evidence that Mom likes to drive. She feels most in
What can I
control
say?
Yes.
when she's the one driving, period.
Except for planes. I did get to fly a plane once, and I went up. You guys bought it for me for a Mother's Day gift when you were younger. And so I got my headset on, and then he gives me control, and we immediately hit an air pocket, and I went, whoa, whoa. And I realized, wait a second, every time I say that, he's hearing it in his headphones. No more of that. But then I realized really quickly that actually those air pockets or whatever you call them make it way more fun flying the plane than if you're just like, eh.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, yeah. So I enjoyed it, but I didn't take off or land, which I don't have a desire to.
Yeah, I had gotten my private pilot's license by then and had been doing some flying. And Mom was writing a script for the WASPs, the Women Air Force Service Pilots. And she was getting ready to go to this reunion with all these incredible women who used to fly and ferry the planes to battle during World War II.
Not to battle. They
Right.
ferried the military planes from different bases or the factories to the coastline where the pilots, the men pilots, would fly them over into either the European or the Pacific.
It's an amazing story and a great screenplay that she wrote. But I said, you can't go meet these women unless you've flown a plane. So that's why we gifted her that special experience.
Yep.
So
And it never came up in
remember-
conversation.
I remember being in the plane that George took us on. We were all in it, and then he let you drive, Dad. And that
was the only time you ever flew with me.
Dad,
and
that
Eddie.
was one of the most terrifying experiences of my life.
Why? I did a great job.
Dad,
I guess you just didn't know.
No, I knew it was a little rough, and Aunt Sandy was losing it in the back seat.
Well, again, we were in air pockets, so there's nothing you can do about the plane bouncing around the sky. You're in the sky, and air currents are constantly changing and shifting. When you're in a jet, you don't feel it because the jet's flying so fast and it's so heavy that unless those are massive, like it's not a big deal. But if you're in a small plane, then you feel everything, and that's just normal. It really is.
Yeah, I think it had to do with the fact that you hadn't flown in so long, so we didn't know how comfortable we should feel. If we had experienced the same amount of movement with George flying, knowing that he's a pilot flying,
Well, George never flew. You never
Yes, he
experienced George
did.
flying because I took
did.
off.
Well,
No, George flew for
I
a
flew
bit
the
then.
return with you, George, me, and Sandy. So they must have flown at a different time because it was just the four of us. Because Sandy and I bonded. We were both like holding hands for the entire time that you were flying. But again, I think it has to do with the fact that you hadn't flown in years, and so we just didn't know how well you were really. And George was looking at maps and stuff. He wasn't paying attention. And I'm thinking in my mind, I'm willing George, please look up. Please tune in. Should you be concerned? But yes,
No,
you're
I
right.
had it.
Everything was fine. You did great. George thought you did great.
I did great.
We all lived, and here
Oh
we
my
are making a
goodness.
podcast.
Hey,
Yeah,
a couple things I want to bring up about this podcast is just this is a countdown to Eddie's last couple podcasts before he moves out to California to the Tahoe area to be with Morgan. So I just want to like own that this is going to be a really hard thing because it's been amazing to have you
Yeah.
home.
Hard for us.
Hard for us. Like we're going to officially be empty nesters, I
Yeah.
guess, for a little while. Maybe
Yeah.
a
Rumor
long
has it.
while.
Who knows? Yeah, and so this is, I think, my second to last podcast, and then next week will be the last.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's coming up
For
quick.
now, temporarily,
For now.
Yeah.
as things are changing.
Until we have an excuse for all of us to gather together again.
Yeah.
It is. It's interesting how you encounter these little bursts of time, and I think that we'll always remember this burst of time as, when Eddie was home and we were all doing podcasts together more regularly, and we got to go to California. Like that was a really monumental trip from that regard.
Yeah.
So that's incredible.
Yeah.
Very fortunate.
Hey, speaking of injuries, like from earlier, did I ever tell you about the time? Do you remember the time that I pulled my hamstring so bad that my whole back of my leg was like incredibly bruised and I was really
Yes.
injured for the better part of a year?
Yes.
Okay, I remember the better part of the year. I don't remember how you hurt yourself.
Okay. So I was at a speakers conference. This was for all the international speakers bureaus, the ones who book speakers from all over the world. I was about to be coming in as NSA president. And so I was there representing pretty much the whole profession of speakers. And I had my thing, I was doing my thing there, but also just watching and networking. Well, it was kind of late at night. We were in Canada, in Vancouver, and we were just sitting around a restaurant. Some people were having drinks or whatnot. And this one girl comes up and she says, "My 8-year-old daughter, who's a gymnast, wants to challenge you to a splits contest."
Oh.
Okay. And I know well enough that I, at 50 something, should not be in a splits contest with an 8-year-old gymnast. Okay.
Yeah.
But I was like, I can humor her. Like, I know I could still do the splits. Like, I've got that covered. I hadn't really stretched. I hadn't warmed up. I hadn't gotten into it. But I decided like I'd do something more dramatic. And so I busted a handstand and I did 10 handstand push-ups. And I'm like, I know this little 8-year-old girl can't do this, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
and then as I was coming down from the handstand, I kicked my one leg between my hands and dropped like flat, all my body weight right into a split. And at that moment, I immediately knew like I had just done something terrible and I'd ripped my hamstring. I could barely, I was thinking, how do I get to my room? How do I get up so that nobody knows how badly I've just hurt myself? And it was bad. Like I was able to pull it together enough that people didn't pick up on it that day, but the next day I could barely walk. And then like days later, it was like the whole back of my leg was all black and blue. And then the tricky part was like, while I was recovering, I was still speaking. And there was still this expectation that I was going to be acrobatic and do at least, most of my speech and my athletic ability in the course of healing. So there's always been like that. Every time I've been injured, it's been, well, you can't completely rest it. You've got to like work through it somehow, play while you're injured. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's what I said when I had a lot of experience with that. That's what I mean.
That is very tough, for sure.
Yeah.
And I do remember that story now that you say it, man.
Moral of the story, don't get into a splits contest with a 8-year-old gymnast.
Man,
Hey, Maggie, let's take a listener question, okay?
go for it.
This one comes in from Benji, who is a listener to our podcast, and he wrote, "I love the podcast on my daily commutes, and it's been helping me enjoy life more, little by little, also giving me the courage to take on new challenges and opportunities. My question is quite a heavy one, but can be shortened to, how have you recovered and reconciled relationships from making the worst mistakes of your life?" Now, again, Benji gave us permission to share his name, but basically what happened, he elaborates a little bit on his story, is due to some mistakes that he made and some behavior that he's not proud of and things that he's done. He really feels like he's damaged family relationships, particularly with his cousin, when he was at a low state, when he was doing things that were really at a different time in his life. And he just knows that he's got this journey ahead of him of apologizing, taking ownership, and repairing those broken relationships. And he just said, I don't know where to start, and asks for any advice or any insights. So that's a heavy question, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you kind of answered it a little bit in just your explanation of there's a road ahead of apologies, taking ownership, and honestly, just living your life in a different way, even if they don't accept it at first.
Yeah.
Because it's understandable that if you've wronged someone and then you go back to them and you're like, no, I'm different, that they might be wary of that. They might have questions. They might not take it, your word for it. But if they continue to see your life and like see the love that you have and like the change that you're living in, it'll take time. But I do think that they will begin to see and like recognize and accept that change in you.
That is very smart.
Yeah, I kind of want to share a story, and I don't know if this is going to be too personal.
If it's on your heart, man, go for it.
Yeah, so when I was really little, I was like 6 years old, I had a best friend called Brooks, and we were friends for many, 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 many years. The bestest of friends. And then in middle school, that just got completely overturned, and we just started like fighting more. There was a lot more kind of like bullying of each other, and I'm not gonna get into specifics because it was I feel like it was both of us just being childish. I don't know, it was silly, but we stopped talking, and then just for years and years never talked, and that was something that always really bothered me, because especially looking back at it as an adult, I think, I don't know, I just recognized all of the childishness of it. And eventually, after we kind of went our own separate ways, went to different colleges, kind of had our whole lives planned out, and we were doing what we were planning on doing, we eventually just reconnected over Instagram. I don't remember what it was exactly, if I just saw his Instagram or something like that. But we just exchanged, a quick few words, and I feel like I apologized to him for the way that I acted, and was just like, look, I just want you to know that there's no hard feelings, and I'm really sorry, and I'd love to rekindle our relationship. If you're ever back in Georgia, then, let's have coffee and hang out and talk. And he was, he felt the exact same way, and it was just great. I don't know, you never know what reaction you're going to get. But I do think just a wholehearted apology goes a really long way. And
that starts it.
There's a lot of vulnerability in doing that. And you're not necessarily, you really don't know how they're going to react. They might react with forgiving you, or moving towards something like a new sort of relationship, or they might just respond with anger and not forgive you, and that's really hard. But
the whole key there is to go into that kind of an encounter without any expectation, because it's not about how they respond to you. It's about healing your own heart and your own sense of self, and living with your mistakes. And that, Benji, first of all, thank you for asking that question. Thank you for reaching out about something that was so deeply personal in your life. It's humbling because, none of us are trained therapists. None of us have these counseling skills. I've done a lot of counseling and coaching, and a lot of people come to me for this type of advice in their lives because of my career track and just my perspective on things. But it's important, especially with questions about depression and anxiety and medical diagnoses, to really elevate the idea that this is not our vocation. However, I've also had a lot of experience in my own life with recovery. I too have damaged relationships. And I think the first step is to ask yourself genuinely, why did that happen? What was going on with you in your own mind from your own sense of what was important, your priorities, or maybe there was some other obsession in your life, or even for me, I know I've done some things before I decided to remove alcohol from my life that were compelled or motivated by the person that I am when I'm drinking, or the person that I am when I'm, dealing with addictive behavior. And I'm not motivated by a connection with a relationship. It's really coming from a selfish place. And so the first thing is to understand, like, how do I make sure that never happens again? Which was, for me, as I've mentioned on past podcasts, a motivation to really address those behavioral changes. And then secondly, yes, you go to someone and you make amends. That's part of the 12 steps. That's part of improvement in life, is to make that first step. And even in instances, here's the key, even in instances where you're not the only one who's guilty of damaging a relationship, like, I'm not going to forgive them until they apologize for what they did and, whatever. It's like, no, you just have to go into it owning your part of it, owning your responsibility, and saying, look, I'm partially responsible or mostly responsible for what happened, and we can't go back. I wish I could undo that, but I can't undo that. And then we can move forward. And like Maggie and Eddie both said, it's about what you do next, the track record of success.
For sure.
And it's a good thing Eddie and Brooks are reconnecting, because when they were 6 years old, they had a plan to live next door to each other and marry sisters. So, now they're back on the track.
Back on track.
Except Morgan doesn't have a sister. Never mind.
Yeah.
Brooks, you're out of this one.
Man.
Maybe
You're on your
best
own with the
friends. I don't know. That could be it. Yeah. So thank you so much for reaching out with that question. And yeah, life's a journey. It's about learning from the past on the one hand, and then leaving the past behind on the other hand. There's a new video that's just dropped, actually the day before this podcast dropped. You could find it on danthurman.com, called Irreversibility. And it's about exactly that. The principle that, it's a scientific term. I'm studying chaos theory right now with regard to like chemical processes and reactions that can't be undone. You can't unmix paint, or you can't uncreate certain reactions. Once they happen, they happen. Well, it's the same in life. And so when we can accept that, then we know, look, we can't undo anything that is irreversible. We can only move from it forward. And the relationship will always be different in some ways, but it could be stronger, because the relationships that endure that type of a strain and stress and hardship and then recover, now they have a different layer of credibility to withstand the hardships that are in front of you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So pain happens in a lot of ways. You pull muscles. You pull your heartstrings.
Life is pain, Heinrich.
It's really interesting, Eddie, to hear you talk about like Brooks and everything, because Brooks was a big part of my childhood as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember having a crush on the boy next door.
Yep.
He was a cutie.
Yeah.
He might still be.
Also,
I don't know. I haven't seen him
still is.
lately.
I think you also just like want to have a crush on the boy next door. I blame Taylor Swift and the "You Belong With Me" music video, because like, oh my gosh, we can like write love notes to each other. He did not feel the same way, because I was the annoying little sister, which was fair. But just speaking of like childhood friends in general, I bought a book the other day, and I got it yesterday. It's called Burn After Writing. And like the whole premise of it is, it's like, have you guys heard of this?
No.
So it's like, it's a book in which it's a bunch of different questions and prompts. Okay, I'm going to read you the back of it real quick, because it's so interesting to me.
Okay.
It says, how honest can you be when no one is watching? Tumblr, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, texting, Snapchat, YouTube. The world has become one giant confessional. In a reversal of this trend, Burn After Writing encourages you to share nothing. With its incisive questions and thought experiments, this private journal challenges you to play a game of truth or dare with yourself. And so it's like a bunch of different questions about like, who is one person that you regret meeting in life? Or like, who is someone you need to forgive? But it's also like a bunch of fun questions and like childhood questions, like what's your earliest memory? Who was your first best friend? And it has me thinking a lot about it because I don't remember so much of my childhood. And like that's something I've always been worried about is like I forget things pretty easy. And I think a huge part of it is like I'm just always doing multiple things at once. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's a lot of people. If I'm cooking,
sounds like a really
I'm
good
also,
book though.
Yeah. If I'm cooking, I'm also watching TV. If I'm driving, I'm also listening to music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you forget to like capture the moment. Which is I
Yeah.
feel like I did that in SanDiego on the catamaran. Like I just went out there and I like sat down and just took it all in and like I don't know, was taking a picture in my mind, like a 3D scan
Yeah.
of everything just so I could
Meanwhile,
remember.
Mom took a picture of you out
Whoa.
there taking that picture.
And I
That's
took a picture
crazy.
of Mom taking a picture of Eddie. But no, it's a
And
really cool book.
I was just watching seals.
And I have video of the seals.
And something that I'm challenging myself to do is to truly just do one thing at a time, at least for like a few days. Where it's like, when I was having my coffee this morning, like to just sit there and have coffee and not be on my phone also. And is counterly a word? Maybe?
Today it is.
On the other side
the
of
other
it,
side.
if I'm on my phone, just be on my phone. Like if I'm on Instagram, just be on Instagram. Don't be listening to music or a podcast or like literally doing like 8 different things. Like just do one thing. And I want to see if that helps like my focus in life because I feel like I struggle with focus. So yeah, I'll let you guys know in a week how it's going.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful books in my life that I continue to reread and reread all the time, I've mentioned it before, is Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. He's actually going to be in Atlanta later this year, and he's still alive. I want to meet this guy. And so I decided I'm going to plan to go to one of his experiences. I have that regret about Wayne Dyer, who is also a huge influence. Like I could have met him because I knew a lot of the same people who know him. But anyway, so I want to go hang out with Eckhart Tolle. But The Power of Now is just such a profound book. I can't listen to it too much. Love to listen to it while I'm in the woods and such. But the way I think about it in terms of presence, it's a journey we continue to learn and fail at and improve upon throughout our whole life. But it's like the Bo Burnham song, "Can I interest you in everything all of the time?" That's the seduction of technology. It's like I have instant access to everything, so I should be engaged with as much of everything as I can handle at any given moment in order to be feeling like I'm getting more out of life. You don't. You get less out of life because, like you said, Eddie, the moments go by you. It's about being in the moment that you have and understanding that within that moment, if you are truly present and in that moment, exists the totality of life. Like everything is about, the human experience is a profound moment, no matter where you are, to simply be in that and observe everything.
Yeah.
Another great book is called The Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman, another great book. And it also talks about the power of the moment. He has a great mentor teacher in this book. It's written as a parable, who asks him to go outside and sit quietly until he can think of a profound idea. You know, don't come back in until you can tell me something that's A, true, and B, like profound and real. And he struggles with this. He's like trying to come up with like the deepest, most elaborate and, incredible discovery about the universe. And he can't do it. And he keeps failing and he keeps failing. And finally he comes in and he says, "There are no ordinary moments." And he said, "Congratulations. That is true." And it really is. It's all about the moments that you have.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing some of those moments with us this week on the Wholesome Chaos podcast. We are incredibly excited that you're here and that you're a part of this journey with our family. Please stay tuned. If this was of use to you, mention it to your friends, and go to wholesomecast.com to ask any questions or submit a topic you'd like us to discuss on future episodes like Benji did this week. And Maggie, anything else?
Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope all of you have an incredible week, and I hope to not hear you guys, or see you guys, but share this time with you.
I hope to run into you in a coffee shop and we can have a conversation. We can share a deep moment of connection and human interaction.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Eddie and Mom are going to Boston for a couple days.
Less than 24 hours.
To begin the process of de-Bostonizing Eddie.
Yeah. The de-Bostonization.
I was going to say de-Bostonification, but yeah.
The de-Bostonification has begun.
Which means I'm going to be home alone with the dogs for a little bit. That's good
man.
too. All right. Well, you take care, sweetheart. We sure love you.
Love you guys.
And we love you too, everyone. Take care. Have a great week. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Max and Dad's wholesome chaos. Max and Dad's wholesome chaos.
Wholesome chaos.
Okay, we got to do a quick tag, my guys.
Okay, quick tag. You mentioned the de-sanification process has begun. I was going to say, like, what if we go to Boston and then we use all of our magic and then we can't get home? We can't fly home.
Oh, no.
That would be so tough.
take
We'd
a
have to
port
send
key.
Spencer to bring you guys home.
Yeah.
And then he'd eat too many candy bars.
He would.
Is that too
or
obscure?
Simon. No, it's a little too obscure.
If this is too obscure, listen, guys, I know it's like March, but go watch the Santa Claus 2. Maybe preface it with the Santa Claus 1 and follow it up with the Santa Claus 3.
That's right.